The worst wheel of the cart makes the most noise. I have never entered into any controversy in defense of my philosophical opinions. I leave them to take their chance in the world. If they are right, truth and experience will support them. If wrong, they ought to be refuted and rejected. Disputes are apt to sour one's temper and disturb one's quiet. It is only when the rich are sick that they fully feel the impotence of wealth. Admiration is the daughter of ignorance. A child thinks 20 shillings and 20 years can scarce ever be spent. All wars are follies, very expensive and very mischievous ones. I what thou hast no need of, and ere long thou shalt sell thy necessities. The use of money is all the advantage there is in having it. He that composes himself is wiser than he that composes a book. He that speaks much is much mistaken, and whether you're an honest man or whether you're a thief depends on whose solicitor has given me my brief. A learned blockhead is a greater blockhead than an ignorant one. If a man could have half of his wishes, he would double his troubles. The strictest law sometimes becomes the severest injustice. If you know how to spend less than you get, you have the philosopher's stone. Gain may be temporary and uncertain, but ever while you live, expense is constant and certain, and it is easier to build 2 chimneys than to keep one in fuel. 9 men in 10 are would-be suicides. Wealth is not his that has it, but his that enjoys it. It is much easier to suppress a first desire than to satisfy those that follow. If you would know the value of money, go and try to borrow some. There is no kind of dishonesty into which otherwise good people more easily and frequently fall than that of defrauding the government. If you desire many things will seem few. No nation was ever ruined by trade. Let all your things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. Fatigue is the best pillow. The doors of wisdom are never shut. Remember that credit is money. We are more thoroughly an enlightened people with respect to our political interests than perhaps any other under heaven. Every man among us reads, and is so easy in his circumstances as to have leisure for conversations of improvement and for acquiring information. When the well is dry, they know the worth of water. A great empire, like a great cake, is most easily diminished at the edges. He that is of the opinion money will do everything may well be suspected of doing everything for money. There never was a truly great man that was not at the same time truly virtuous. Danger is sauce for prayers. Those who govern, having much business on their hands, do not generally like to take the trouble of considering and carrying into execution new projects. The best public measures are therefore seldom adopted from previous wisdom, but forced by the occasion. He that rises late must trot all day. I have no private interest in the reception of my inventions by the world, having never made, nor proposed to make, the least profit by any of them. The first mistake in public business is the going into it. When befriended, remember it. When you befriend, forget it. God grant that not only the love of liberty, but a thorough knowledge of the rights of man may pervade all the nations of the earth, so that a philosopher may set his foot anywhere on its surface and say, "This is my country. In my youth, I traveled much, and I observed in different countries that the more public provisions were made for the poor, the less they provided for themselves, and of course became poorer. And, on the contrary, the less was done for them, the more they did for themselves, and became richer. Blessed is he that expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. Who had deceived thee so often as thyself? Never take a wife till thou hast a house to put her in. Each year one vicious habit discarded, in time might make the worst of us good. He that won't be counseled can't be helped. He that's secure is not safe. He does not possess wealth, it possesses him. Those have a short Lent who owe money to be paid at Easter. Since thou art not sure of a minute, throw not away an hour. I look upon death to be as necessary to our constitution as sleep. We shall rise refreshed in the morning. Industry need not wish. If you would have a faithful servant, and one that you like, serve yourself. Our necessities never equal our wants. He that has not got a wife is not yet a complete man. Hear reason, or she'll make you feel her. From a child I was fond of reading, and all the little money that came into my hands was ever laid out in books. Pleased with the Pilgrim's Progress, my first collection was of John Bunyan's works in separate little volumes. A penny saved is 2 pence clear. There cannot be a stronger natural right than that of a man's making the best profit he can of the natural produce of his lands. All who think cannot, but see there is a sanction like that of religion, which binds us in partnership in the serious work of the world. He that waits upon fortune is never sure of a dinner. Savages we call them, because their manners differ from ours. Applause waits on success. Employ thy time well, if thou meanest to gain leisure. My elder brothers were all put apprentices to different trades. I was put to the grammar school at 8 years of age, my father intending to devote me, as the tithe of his sons, to the service of the church. Where sense is wanting, everything is wanting. When will mankind be convinced and agree to settle their difficulties by arbitration? I should have no objection to go over the same life from its beginning to the end, requesting only the advantage authors have of correcting in a second edition the faults of the first. A good conscience is a continual Christmas. Leisure is the time for doing something useful. This leisure the diligent person will obtain, the lazy one never. Who is rich? He that rejoices in his portion. Mine is better than ours. Wars are not paid for in wartime. The bill comes later. Your net worth to the world is usually determined by what remains after your bad habits are subtracted from your good ones. To follow by faith alone is to follow blindly. As we must account for every idle word, so must we account for every idle silence. Do good to your friends to keep them, to your enemies to win them. Even peace may be purchased at too high a price. There are 2 ways of being happy. We must either diminish our wants or augment our means. Either may do, the result is the same, and it is for each man to decide for himself, and to do that which happens to be easier. It is easier to prevent bad habits than to break them. A life of leisure and a life of laziness are 2 things. There will be sleeping enough in the grave. 1 today is worth 2 tomorrows. God helps those who help themselves. Genius without education is like silver in the mine. Work as if you were to live 100 years. Pray as if you were to die tomorrow. It is the eye of other people that ruin us. If I were blind, I would want neither fine clothes, fine houses, or fine furniture. If time be of all things the most precious, wasting time must be the greatest prodigality. Where liberty is, there is my country. Speak ill of no man, but speak all the good you know of everybody. Creditors have better memories than debtors. The absent are never without fault, nor the present without excuse. He that sows thorns should never go barefoot. Remember that credit is money. She laughs at everything you say. Why? Because she has fine teeth. Who is rich? He that is content. Who is that? Nobody. You can bear your own faults, and why not a fault in your wife? I guess I don't so much mind being old as I mind being fat and old. Human felicity is produced not as much by great pieces of good fortune that seldom happen as by little advantages that occur every day. Necessity never made a good bargain. Laws too gentle are seldom obeyed, too severe, seldom executed. Beauty and folly are old companions. He that raises a large family does, indeed, while he lives to observe them, stand a broader mark for sorrow, but then he stands a broader mark for pleasure too. In general, mankind, since the improvement of cookery, eats twice as much as nature requires.